We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok.
Hello, world.
Isn't it weird? We can broadcast ourselves to the world.
I know. It's like the old-fashioned ham radios. I imagine I was too young for that to ever engage in that thing. But I remember as a kid hearing about it and thinking, what? You can just sit in front of this little thing and talk to people all around the world. And now here we are in our little teeny tiny home office that has it's almost like a broadcast studio.
It really is.
And we can just connect with folks who are.
Do you remember CB radios? You're probably
Isn't
too
that the
young.
same thing?
No, ham radio is like in your house. A CB radio you had in your car.
Oh yeah. Oh
and you could talk to truckers while you were driving around.
Okay, in the 70s, were we not all completely fascinated with talking to truckers as kids?
Oh my gosh, there were songs about it.
Why was that such a thing? Was it because CB radios were newly available or something?
Yeah, for sure. We've got Tony coming in from Winnipeg. All right.
Greetings.
Oh, Chris is one of our condemning Christians that doesn't know how to have grace and love. He just brings his Christian love. So, yeah. They were new, and we've got somebody from Texas, Nick from Texas. Hard to read on TikTok today, isn't it? And there was a TV show called BJ and the Bear. Was a trucker who had a monkey.
Yes. I that was when I was early grade school, probably 5, 6, 7 years old. And yeah, you're right. We wanted to be in that life. And
yeah.
I wanted more than anything to have a pet monkey.
And remember there was a song called Convoy, it's all about how the truckers beat the cops, what they call them, bears, they're Smokies.
Yes. Well, Smokey and the Bandit would be probably also in that genre. Yeah. And the Dukes of Hazzard. And I just remember saying all the time, breaker, breaker, 19. Yeah. I don't even know what that means, but having a walkie-talkie. So this was, you guys, if you're just tuning in, this is us riffing on how cool it is to just be all of a sudden sitting in your home office and, flipping a switch and being able to talk to the whole world. Because we remember when we would have been excited to just have little battery operated walkie-talkies that maybe you could talk to your sister in the other part of the house. That was just illuminating.
Well, we were happy to have 2 cans and a string, that we could talk to each other through.
I spent a lot of time as a kid wondering does that actually work?
Oh yeah, we did
can
it.
You? But anyway, I mean,
actually, you can't hear very well and very far.
And I'm now just realizing that all of that was so weird. And our good friend Craig is joining from Greenville. Our former Fresno,
South Carolina.
The Pied Piper of Fresno has made his way all the way over to South Carolina. So if anybody is tuning in from the South Carolina area for the first time, you have to meet this guy named Craig Sharton.
Craig from Fresno.
Is it Craig or Craig?
Craig. From Greenville. We have KR Paul from Wisconsin, Melissa from Oklahoma joining us from Facebook. Facebook is where all my really, really, really cracky, crazy Christian friends hang out. So we'll hear from some of them tonight.
This is new for us. I have done my level best to avoid Facebook like the plague for as long as it's been in existence. And tonight we're broadcasting or whatever, podcasting right into the Facebook world. So we'll see how that goes.
Frog Pond, North Carolina, says Kevin Brickman. I don't know if that's really a place. So yeah, let us know where you're joining from. I'm Paul. This is Ashley. We're in Fresno, California, and we like to connect with people through place. And we're getting God blessings for both of us. I don't know what that means. The minister told the police, you all are letting criminals loose and arresting me.
That may not be a
don't know what that means.
Thought. But you know what I'm realizing just now as we're talking about it? It was kind of weird, the obsession with the CB ham radio world.
It was majorly weird.
I never thought about how weird it was to want to have a pet monkey either. I think
Charles from Chula Vista is with us there.
Charles is a longtime friend.
Yeah. It was kind of weird to want to have a pet monkey because they would be a lot of work and a lot of responsibility.
I think it's because they were so popular in TV shows when we were growing up, and they were kind of part human, you could really have an emotional connection with the monkey.
And they would wear a diaper, so they would look kind of like
and they were always smarter than the people in the So they were very desirable, but they're actually like pretty nasty and mean.
I think it would be a lot of work to have a monkey at your house for sure. Carol's with us from Sacramento. Boy, I'm just really having trouble reading. Darth from California.
I think maybe you should have sat in this chair.
Well, but I need to kind of control over here with this hand. So can you read the comments?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, cool. I know you like to read the comments.
Honestly, I just sit here and listen to you talk and read the comments when we go live. I contribute virtually nothing except for being fascinated with the comments.
We got Georgia in the house, Kansas. Boy, we got people from all over. Dennis from Odessa, Texas, where they have a football stadium, a high school football stadium that seats more people than are in the town, if I'm not mistaken, Dennis. Or
isn't that the subject of like Friday Night
Lights?
Yeah, Odessa.
Was it Odessa? Odessa Permian. Yeah, that's it. And Susie's here from Brooksville. Yeah. George says he had a small monkey and it threw shit everywhere.
Mom had a monkey. And she got rid of it. Well, okay, but you were probably the envy of your town growing up.
You had to be so cool to have a monkey at your house.
Yeah.
We just had the dog.
I had a hamster and it got out and we accidentally crushed it. Got somebody tuning in from Coalinga. Yay.
Oh wow, Coalinga's right up the highway from us.
Fresno County, not far from us here.
So here we are, and we like to talk about, I don't know, we just kind of started this during COVID, did we? Or maybe a little bit before, and just was it during COVID?
You were doing a lot of stuff on social media before COVID, and then when we were stuck in our house together for days on end and had nothing to do, that's when you and I together started doing this.
Yeah.
But you've been behind this microphone in one form or the other for almost your entire life.
A while, yeah. And so we talk religion and politics because I am an ordained minister, was sort of in pastoral leadership for 20 some odd years and led a church that I planted along with some other folks. And I was senior pastor of that church for 10 years. Thank God I got out right before COVID came. And there's never a day like, oh, I wish I was back at that job. And then
you have said that about every job you've ever had.
True.
You get to the point where you're done.
When I'm finished with the job.
Yeah.
I move on.
And you don't look back. But anyway, so
our son is like that too. Like when he's done with something, he's done and he doesn't look back.
Yeah.
Maybe a character trait. And Ashley, on the other hand, was an elected official, mayor of our city of Fresno.
Yep.
Fresno is a city of about 500,000 people. It's the 5th largest city in California. And she was mayor for 2 terms. And we have been struck with the idea of our faith should impact our ability to do something good for our community, not just try to get people in our church building and get people to heaven, but actually impact a city and a state and the world.
Oh, we were so innocent back then. Yeah, I mean, Paul and I, when we we met in 1993. And in fact, we just celebrated our 29th year first date anniversary.
Yeah.
On June 16th, 1993, which for the first time in our entire lives, I remembered, and I gave you a card. June 16th. So I
didn't know that was a thing, but yes, you did.
I like about every August or September every year, I'll be like, oh crap, I meant to give Paul a card just to be like, oh, I remember that the date of our first date, June 16th. Anyway, 1993. From that time, in our earliest days, we were just like, first of all, we loved our community.
Yeah.
We're both not from where we live. And we felt like this place was kind of looked down on, but that it had so many great qualities. And among the attributes was there's this very active like faith community, and kind of in the culture,
a lot of churches,
very like deep. It's for those of you who are not from California, it's sort of like the Midwest / Bible Belt of the U.S. is right here in the middle of the state. So we're like in the belly button area of California. And so we just, with like wide-eyed and sincere faith, we're just like, we believe God is real. We believe the things in the Bible. We believe Jesus is real. And like that God loves us, loves people, and he wants to help change our community. That's where we started.
Yeah.
So we're just like, why not? Like, I'll get involved in community stuff. And you ultimately ended up starting a church, and out of that belief that if there are God-loving people in a place and they are following the life of Christ, then the physical place should change.
Right.
Like we believe in this, like that's kind of where we started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the heaven on earth.
And we were like, isn't this great? Like we're reading the Bible and it says your faith should cause you to go out and help people and change their lives and change your city. And we're like, this is amazing. This is going to be so great to see this breakthrough happen in our city. And the Christians around us and the Republicans around us were like, no. Well, no, that's not the goal.
It took a little longer. It took us a little while to figure out that we were actually on different paths. Okay. We thought we were kind of in the same space for a while, right? But anyway, I just want to say real quick, Carol Ann in the comment says, that's why the California Southern Baptist Convention headquarters is in Fresno. Yes, that is a good explanation for that.
I think we have like, how many church camps do we have in our area? Like we are the church camp haven of America.
Because also we're nestled right up against the Sierra Nevada. Yes. So there are some cool like campgrounds around here.
But we were like, yes, let's go change our city with our faith and let our faith drive us to really help the poor communities in our city. And our kind of right-wing Christian friends were like, what? No, we just want to get people saved to heaven and overturn abortion.
Well, I would add to that and say there were sort of two camps of people who showed up to things as like the Christian Republican type. Well, frankly, one whole group of people, they didn't show up to community improvement kinds of conversations and work because of what you just said. It was more about just like the four walls of the church and trying to recruit people to attend church and get saved. But the other people who showed up as Christians were in the Republican Party, and their thing was no taxes, no taxes, no taxes.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, well, because I was elected the same night that President Obama was.
Yeah,
we were on the ballot together.
Right.
Me and Barry. And sorry, disrespectful, President Obama. And so anyway, like very quickly they kind of got into the like Tea Party, no taxes, like surely Jesus came to free people from the oppression of taxes was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
But that evolved.
Jesus came to make sure business owners didn't have to pay taxes. And don't get us wrong, we hire our own accountant every year. He's amazing. And we say, make sure we pay the least amount of taxes that we owe possible. So, but at the same time, like I was talking yesterday on a live, that if we look at taxes as being sort of the government are taking money from us versus how much should each of us put into a pool of money that can help take care of the needs of our community, roads and public safety and education and all those things, it becomes a different conversation, I think. You know, what does it take to, and then what is our responsibility to take care of the poor and the foreigner and the marginalized and the economically disadvantaged? And I don't know, I read the Bible and I see that command not once or twice or three times, but hundreds and hundreds of times. And so I think we have to look at things a little bit differently. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. So in the midst of all of this, of trying to help people and then seeing that sort of our religious lineage and heritage didn't quite fit with that, it kind of got us thinking, well, maybe there's something different to this idea of being a follower of Jesus. And so I got on TikTok and all of a sudden we discovered we weren't the only ones. There were a whole bunch of people out here deconstructing their faith. And that's kind of what we want to talk about a little bit of, you know, what this deconstruction journey has looked like for us, and love to hear from you guys what it means for you and tell you about an event we have coming up next Sunday. So yeah, where do you want to go from there?
Well, I guess I'm curious. I'm curious from your perspective, when did you ever first even hear the word deconstruction? And like, cause you were already evolving but you didn't have that word. So what was that introduction like for you?
I think it really was kind of when I got on TikTok. I'm not sure I really heard the word deconstruction. And I got on TikTok because I was doing what I'm doing. I was speaking out on Facebook. I was saying, hey, evangelical church, there may be a different way to think. Maybe God didn't call us to passionately hate Barack Obama for being a black president. Maybe there's a different way we can look at this world. And I just found Facebook was totally fruitless with, dealing with people who were so angry and so blinded by their religion. And so I said, the night before the 2020 election, I told you, I'm going to go to TikTok. Facebook is a total waste of time. And so I got on TikTok like that week and discovered this world of deconstruction. So I think it really was like November of 2020.
That's probably about right.
Yeah.
Okay, quick time
somebody
out
from Visalia
from our conversation to answer a question. Someone says, are you all lefties from California, the land of fruit and nuts? The answer is 100% yes. And here's why. We are sitting in the capital, the headquarters of fruits and nuts, literally in a 100-mile radius from where we're sitting right here tonight. 60% of the nation's
we feed the world
fruits and nuts are grown right here.
Yep.
And 30% of the vegetables. So I'm sure you intended it as an insult, but I actually would tell you it is a point of pride that we produce the quality fresh produce that Americans and people around the world are enjoying right now here in Fresno.
Well, a lot of right-wing people don't know anything about California other than what they hear on Fox or Newsmax. And
then another question, somebody asked, what is a deconstructing Christian in the comments? So let me talk about that a little bit.
All right. A deconstructing Christian is, I believe, someone who follows the command of the Bible to let us reason together, to follow Romans 12:2 that says, don't be conformed to the age that you're in, but be transformed, totally metamorphosized, if that's a word, by the renewing of your mind so that you can know what is good and right and the will of God in a season. So deconstruction is just that sense of being raised in an indoctrinated, dogmatic environment and starting to say, something's wrong. Like, this kind of doesn't add up. And I also call it like pulling the string in a sweater. You're like, wait a second. There are Christians who believe Adam and Eve weren't literal people. And you start asking a question like that, and you start realizing that our belief system, whoops, sorry, I hit the mic there, is a sweater with a string that when you start to pull that string, the sweater just keeps unraveling and unraveling and unravels pretty quickly. And so in deconstruction, our right-wing fundamentalist will say, oh, you're backsliding. But the truth is, what I've found with deconstructionists is it's like, okay, I'm not moored to a community indoctrination. I really want to know who God is. I really want to know what the story of the Bible is. I want to know the truth. I've been indoctrinated. I've lived in a community dogma. Now I want to really know what the truth is. And so let me ask my questions so I can find the truth. And yes, some deconstructionists do start saying, our religion is bunk. And I'm angry that I've been lied to by pastors in life. But what I'm finding is many are like, I still want to pursue God. I still love the story of Jesus. I just don't want to be living in indoctrination and blind dogma. Jesus called it eating the leaven of bad religion so that it takes away your eyes to see and ears to hear in the season. So that's what I see as deconstruction.
Yeah. And I really love what Dennis Gilmore is saying on YouTube. It's ditching the dogma and finding the faith underneath.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that probably best describes the experience that I've been going through over the last couple of years. And first of all, let me say, I hate labels of every kind.
I do too. That's why, are you guys lefties? You know, what that person is looking for is an easy way to dismiss what we're saying and put a label on it. Yeah.
And so like things like that and like, oh, I'm deconstruct. Like what I don't want to be is like, oh, it's just like really cool and trendy right now to deconstruct. So I'm going to like, I don't like and I'm not saying that.
Well, we were doing it before we knew there was a word for it.
Yeah. Thanks, Craig.
We love you, Craig. Good to see you.
We need to catch up.
Carolina over there.
We need to catch up on Zoom next week with Craig.
I know.
Find out how his move is going. Anyway, so I kind of would say that I have been behind the scenes, just like reevaluating and trying to come to grips. And, you know, I literally just sit on the other side of this wall so much of the time, and especially during COVID. And I hear I hear everything Paul's talking about. And so it's like, I'm learning and, but I'm kind of like trying to act like I'm not really listening, but I am really listening. And I think for me, what was motivating or compelling, because by the way, I didn't grow up in quite as religiously toxic a world as you did.
Mm-hmm.
So in my faith home growing up, we had this like once saved, always saved, and like you can never exceed God's grace. And so there was, even though there was all this weird layered on, practices or like sort of things.
And I grew up in God is just itching to kick you out
any
day.
That's the
any
big,
moment.
I have to say, I think that's the big difference between our growing up. And even though I definitely grew up in a performance culture that like God's mad at you if you're not witnessing enough or saving enough people. And I pursued so many people like in order to get them saved instead of like just having relationship with them. So I had a lot of stuff to kind of get off and out of me. But at my very, very core, I knew/know that there is this connection with this divine love that is unshakable for me. And so anyway, so I was listening to, we have a little different experience.
Yeah.
But all that to say, as I was listening to you, I just kind of was like, well, I'm pretty satisfied with the way I have interacted with who I perceive God to be. I for sure thought of God as a man on a throne with 2 eyes, an ear and a nose.
2 ears.
I know, I'm kidding.
Although, he could have been, Peter could have cut one off.
Yeah. And so you're like, you just kind of convinced me like, what if there's more? And so then I started thinking, I'm not coming from a place necessarily of hurt or dissatisfaction. Although, listen, I'm a preacher's kid and a preacher's wife. So there's plenty of ways in which I've shellacked my heart and defend myself from like being hurt. So but you convinced me that like, wow, maybe my religious norms have boxed God in. And if there is an intimacy, if there is a connection with divine and eternal love that I'm not experiencing because I have put God in my religious box, I want that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started to open this box, I would say.
And I want to mention real quickly, because we know we have people coming in and out. Next Sunday night, 5:00 Pacific, we're going to have what we're going to call, every month we're going to have a Zoom group meeting called Unconventional Conversations. And because I am the unconventional Pastor Paul, and you can join us through the Zoom room if you're part of our Pastor Paul community, which you can find out more about at pastor-paul.com, my website, pastor-paul.com. Or you can watch the stream. And our topic this week is going to be this exact topic. Am I still a Christian? Is God mad at me for deconstructing my faith? And we're going to talk about, does God want us not to think? Does God want us, as the evangelical church tries to draw us to make sure you don't ask questions that are hard ones? Just ask simple ones about, looking at porn or something like that we can answer easily, or banning abortion. Don't ask hard questions like, was there really a Jonah? Did he really live for 3 days in a big fish or a whale, which the Bible doesn't even say? And so we're going to have these conversations once a month. And so our first one is next Sunday, 5:00 Pacific. Am I a Christian? And is God mad at me for deconstructing my faith?
And is there a charge for that?
For some reason, we have this trouble on YouTube, on the StreamYard. Sorry, TikTok. I got to move you guys for a second. It looks like to get us. Oh, okay. See, it just kicks us out. All right, we're back. So hopefully you can hear us okay now. Let me move TikTok back into place. And so there is, if you want to be in the Zoom room discussion, you have to be a $5.99 a month member of our community, or you can watch it free on a stream on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook. So
is this live now?
Yes, we are live. Holy White Eagle.
And also, Nancy, I appreciate your comment about finding Pastor Paul's community. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that there. Well, tell Nancy. All your friends, Nancy. Tell all your friends. Okay, so you can just watch live starting at 5 p.m. Pacific on Sunday night of next week. But being in the Zoom room means you get to directly interact with you, ask questions, talk to other people who are
on the same journey.
Okay. So and that's the $5.99 a month.
Yeah. So you can find out more about it at the website, pastor-paul.com.
That's a real bargain.
It is a bargain. What a bargain that is.
I'm gonna have a TikTok.
And we're trying to figure out how we give away as much content for free as possible and still be able to feed our children.
My new obsession.
Are you doing a commercial for TikTok?
I'm just saying, maybe we could get some sponsorship dollars.
I'm doing a commercial for TikTok, and you're doing a commercial for TikTok.
TikTok. I used to love these as a kid, and my parents would never let me have them because it was like candy. But now I buy them. They're $1. They're $10 for 10 packs at the store, and I'll eat like a box a day. So
somebody says here, it's against the book to sell yourself sell your religion, right?
Sell your religion, right?
No, Jesus had funders. He had women who funded his ministry, and when he would go from town to town, people would feed him and put up his entourage and give him money. So yeah, there's no law that says you can't have a business and do what you're doing. And I do my work for profit because I want to be a taxpayer in my community, and I want to be able to talk about religion and politics without violating the 501c3 law of our culture. So I have no qualms in saying, hey, be a subscriber, buy our products, and come with us, because we give away a whole bunch of free stuff every week too. And like I said, I want to eat and I want to be able to feed my children. And so, yeah.
Amen. Amen to that, Pastor.
Amen, brother.
Preach it. Okay. So next week, rethinking spirituality. Am I still a Christian? Will God be mad if I be mad if I deconstruct my beliefs? Okay. So am I still a Christian, and will God be mad at me? That you were telling me yesterday that like this is kind of a cornerstone of what people interact with you a lot about. And I
would say our first 4 discussions are really the keys to deconstruction. Is God mad if I start asking questions? And then it's, who is God? Is God a being with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a nose, or is God something else? And isn't it clear that the Bible actually says God is something else besides that? Then it's the Bible. How do we rethink the Bible? Is it really what evangelicals claim it to be? And then finally, eternity. What is sin? What is hell? And those 4 things to me are the real keys of deconstruction. And once you start to work through those, then it gives you the potential to start to see God differently, and our interaction with the supernatural, the mystical, the divine, whatever is sort of outside of this universe, and that part of the spirit of heaven that's inside of us, that calls us to be our most emotionally healthy, to draw ourselves to our better self, to love ourselves so we can love our neighbor. Once we sort of unmoor from those 4 key tenets of evangelicalism and sort of American Western Christianity, we can really start to seek out God in a new way. So I think those are the really important ones.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a little kind of back and forth with some folks about, I don't know, I would just say, if you don't like to listen to this, then you don't have to. You can log off. You don't have to convince people the way you feel about things.
Well, anyway. I kind of like people to come around and think maybe they'll hear something and it'll plant a seed, and then they'll have trouble sleeping. And like, how can those people they just seem so wrong, but they kind of seem right? And they become a Nicodemus in the middle of the night.
They're like not aiming at us though, about like, they're like aiming at other people.
Oh, well, screw you then. That's that Christian love that we have to.
Is that no? Okay, sorry, I took us off track.
We have to blot
we'll
out
let it get sorted out. Yeah. So, and somebody earlier asked, like, is deconstruction hard? And I will tell, I feel like I had kind of a spiritual breakthrough this week. And so for me, it's been a couple of years now of just like not accessing God in the same way that I have in the past. And so, I used to spend a lot of time just like kind of begging God.
By the way, somebody's saying you're beautiful. So you probably want to stop and say, yeah. Pastor Paul's wife, she is a beautiful lady.
Go on. And I also
I married well, for sure.
Oh, bless your heart. Anyway, so I think so I would say, yes, it's been hard.
I also, real quick before you get off, Jamie is here. She is one of my best moderators. Okay. So thank you, Jamie, for being here.
What is this line, this pink thing that keeps,
I'm not sure.
Like, is somebody reporting?
No, that's just a
TikTok
The
universe.
TikTok universe thing.
I
never have figured out what that is. So,
okay.
And I don't think everybody else is seeing it. So now everybody's like, what the heck are they talking about?
So we're trying to like create a space here tonight for people to talk a little bit about what their deconstruction journey has been,
right?
Including ours. What even is deconstruction? Because you're about to tee up like for 10 months in a row. Once a month, you're gonna like really be opening up and going deep into some content that you've developed, kind of workshop style or whatever. So it's going to be a really, really cool experience. And
before you got interrupted by your beauty, you were talking about, was deconstruction hard for you?
That's right. And what I was saying was like so yes, but also through my last couple of years, I have had, the way I would describe it to people, like this foundational knowledge and understanding of like, God is here, God is real, God is perfect love, God is not afraid of anything that I'm going through, God isn't upset that I'm maybe not on my knees every day begging God to answer certain prayers. Like it just was kind of like it was peaceful, but also I think there were times when I definitely kind of felt lonely, that some of the ways in which maybe I had spiritual bypasses in the past, like I kind of was choosing not to do that, to see what would develop, instead. And I would say at this point, it's been very, very worth it.
Yeah. I saw somebody say, I left the evangelical church and left my faith behind. Now I'm finding God in a new way. And I really do think that is the story of many who have a deconstructing experience, is we find God in a new way. And through that, and what I love about it, and what has always been, even as a kid, I used to think, man, I would love to love people who don't go to our church, but God won't allow me to. I wish God wasn't mean. I wish God allowed me to love people. And so in deconstruction, I've learned like that otherizing of people, like a Christian will say, well, I love everybody, but deep down inside, we know like we get to shake the dust off of our clothes at non-Christian people and say, well, I tried to win you. Now you're screwed. Bummer for you.
And it's all just like this agenda. It's like a sales agenda.
Yeah, exactly. You invite people to coffee because you want to get them saved. Not because you want to build relationship.
I remember embarrassingly, like a couple of like pretty close work friends when we were first married, in my mid-20s or so, like I remember just inviting these people to church events all the time until finally they had to say to me, like, I'm not coming to your church. And I was really embarrassed. But that's just what I thought I was pressured to do all the time. Also on Facebook.
We have Miguel from Clovis on TikTok, by the way.
Fantastic.
On Facebook.
Facebook, Holy White Eagle. I appreciate so much the point about sort of the American Christianity, how far away that seems from connecting with God, from this person who's Lakota, from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. That is a powerful statement.
Well, it's what deconstruction did for me, is it gave me the opportunity to really read the Bible. Like I didn't need to read the Bible as an indoctrinated evangelical, because I knew all of it already. And I knew what I was told by Focus on the Family Radio. And I knew what I was told by the pastors in the pulpit. So I didn't need to read the Bible. And when I needed to support my beliefs with the Bible, I just Googled the verses. It's what I call Google Christians. They don't actually read the Bible. Mm-hmm. They just Google verses that they've heard in sermons that support their narrative. And when you actually then sit down and start reading the Bible, and I think even the Old Testament, you start to see a different God in there than the God of the evangelicals. That is like, I'm a God that is vengeful. I'm going to beat the shit out of Jesus so that, you can go to heaven. I mean, it's a really horrible God that we're taught in evangelical Christianity and really American Christianity. And I think once you can take those blinders off and see the Bible differently, you can start to see God. And I would now say God is sometimes a word. What are you trying to do?
I was going to scroll.
It doesn't work on, you gotta do it on the screen like that.
Oh, okay. Keep talking.
So God, you can see God as something more than a vengeful guy sitting on a throne. You can see that the God of the Bible is a really amazing, mystical, attempt by ancient Bedouin farmers to explain what the spirit of heaven looks like. And what they knew is authority was held by a king on a throne and a patriarchal father. So that's who they wrote God to be. And today we know, even in the midst of all that, they wrote about a God who self-identified as I am that I am, which is something much bigger than a human, but is a spirit, and I think a container of all things that's very, very different. And in that, then I get to understand my relationship with heaven very differently, and the requirement then of my relationship with other humans very differently. Because Christianity taught me, say this prayer and you're going to heaven. Yeah, try to be better, but really no matter how shitty you are, you're going to heaven because you said this prayer. Once saved, always saved. And then when you actually read the Bible and you see Jesus saying, depart from me, I never knew you, because you didn't take care of the naked, the hungry, the prisoner, it changes my responsibility to people around me.
Okay, so catching up on a couple of comments here. First of all, Gigi Busy, I saw your comments, trying to scroll back up and find it. Gigi Busy was talking about being, deconstructing for a little while. I think it was like 5 years or something. And this person says it's been really, really hard to like reconstruct. So this, I think this workshop series is for you. So next week, 5:00 Pacific, Paul's going to live stream it. If you want to be on Zoom, you can sign up at $5.99 a month in the Pastor Paul community, pastor-paul.com. And you can be on Zoom and ask direct questions and engage with others who are on the workshop, or just come on the live. But you should hang out with other people who are going through this experience and who are a little to the other side. Like a good friend of ours, Julie, we were sitting with last week on Saturday, and she's like, yeah, I started deconstructing in the early 2000s. And here's the way I think about God and my relationship with God now. And it was just completely like, it just kind of unstuck me from kind of a jam that I was getting into about like, how to access God differently and not repeat the mistakes of the past, and still have this, just the happiness and the connection that comes from like being like, yeah, God is here and real and live and love. And like that, all that stuff is true. Yeah. We're not being called to walk away from that. So
and again, I know some people get triggered by the idea of God. So just, God is a term that we grew up with and know, but to us, God is something bigger again than that judging guy that sits on a throne.
If that is, if God is too personifying for you and it is triggering, another way to think about God is, I just think of like light and love and hope. And life, like, gosh, light always overtakes darkness. That is just a fact.
Yeah.
There is light all around us, and that is real. So,
and by the way, info on that is at pastor-paul.com. What you were talking about. I wanted to read something I saw from Timothy here. Oh man, what?
I just saw a comment about somebody's children were murdered.
Oh my goodness.
Unthinkable.
Yeah. Timothy says, thanks, Paul, for sneaking into my Facebook feed just when I needed it. Being a gay Catholic has been so painful, and I felt so broken until I read your narrative on all the hocus pocus that made me loathe myself. Thank you, and God bless.
That's awesome.
That is our job.
If you're watching right now on either platform, like share this out, because we're going to hang out here for a bit longer, probably another 15, 20 minutes. And it just is so much fun when other people show up and you feel like you're.
And Jamie, mute the guy. Anybody who like keeps commenting in caps with declaratives, just mute that guy.
All caps is so threatening.
Yeah, it's just silly. So and also, particularly when they keep doing the same thing over and over again.
However, it is so much easier to read. So maybe all caps, please, everyone, for these 50-year-old eyeballs.
And by the way, Edward on Facebook says blasphemer, and I really appreciate that, Edward, because that's exactly what religious people said about Jesus. So thank you for the compliment.
Well, we don't know who Edward's talking about. Like, surely he's not talking about us.
Oh, of course he's talking about us.
I'm just kidding. I'm gonna have a tic tac.
A tic tac. A tic tac, right?
This live brought to you by.
But guys, deconstruction is hard because when you are in a community that meets in a building 4 Sundays a month, and honestly, it's hard to find community in American culture, which is so individualistic, other than church in many ways. And so church becomes our community, and that's a community that's built around a dogma and an indoctrination that says, if you don't agree with us, you can't be a part of the community. So it's an identity risk to start to say, well, I'm not sure I believe that anymore. And that is hard. And it's why I believe that Jesus said, I came to divide families. I came to divide brother against mother, not because, I have atheists who say, Jesus said, hate your mom. And if you don't hate your mom, you're not a follower of him. No, what he was saying is, it's going to require you to leave some beliefs behind. And that was embodied in the allegorical symbol of household and family. And some of us literally have had to leave family behind to deconstruct our belief, because for many of our families, our close friends, their identity as a Christian, and for many of them, their identity as a Republican Christian or as a Trump follower, becomes so important to their identity. For you to question that becomes you're questioning them as human beings, and it gets kind of ugly. And many of us have had to boundary those relationships, and that is hard. That is painful. And it does, in some ways, start to say, these people were the people I believed who loved me unconditionally, and now I'm finding their love was very conditional.
Yeah.
And what I was taught was not true. And so it does create a very agonizing space of like, well, who am I now?
I feel like, I think a difference that I feel, this is on kind of moving towards the other side of this shedding of cultural Christianity. I tried to not say deconstructing because I don't want to. I
actually like the word rethinking or renewing our minds.
Okay. So anyway,
so we're rethinking faith is really what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I like that.
Okay.
So one thing I'm experiencing is I didn't realize, even though we were in a charismatic, pretty like doors wide open kind of church environment, non-denominational, kind of mainstream church like that. Like, we thought we're just like, oh yeah, we don't judge anybody. And we're just, like, come on in everyone. And I felt like we were in a church environment that was like really open to everybody and like no barriers for people. But now I'm realizing I did have barriers up towards people. I put, like, even though I could be in a pretty close friendship with someone or a deep conversation, I realized that the way I was raised was to be slightly judgmental of anybody who didn't believe exactly the way I did. And so it's just a fact that I put up walls for people. I didn't get to really experience people because I was always somewhere deep down thinking like, oh, this person's really cool, but they're different than I am. And they don't, there's like some judgment, they don't really know. I'm a little bit better because I know like the real Jesus. I had all that going on. Truth. That's just a fact. And I think that, I think a lot of the American Christian church, it's just a place where you go to get away from people and relationships. And now that I'm just like, oh man, I don't have to think that way anymore. I feel so much more free to just love and embrace people and let my imperfections hang out and embrace other people. And it's actually so exciting and so much fun.
Yeah. So the question on TikTok is, what made you reconsider your approach?
Well, I first of all, I'm married to Paul. So,
well, Tim is saying there, I got my girlfriend out of one of these evangelical churches. So did I.
Yeah.
I got my girlfriend out of one too.
Yeah. Like that is a good way to say it, because I'm probably not going to challenge things quite as much as you are. I think you're wired that way a little more. I'm just kind of like, I love to figure out how to make things work. Like I love really broken, horrible systems that aren't functioning well for anybody, like I love to go in and do a turnaround job there. That's how I ended up going into, local government and serving as mayor. I was like, this place seems pretty screwed up. I'm going to go in and fix it. But I think that you're much more of a challenge the norms kind of person. I'm more like, well, whatever is the normal, let's make sure it works really well. Is that a right?
I'm the
right
emperor's not wearing any pants guy.
Yeah. And so, and I'm like, oh my God, let's just get busy making the pants, like who cares that it's, like that's the, whatever. I just kind of want to fix stuff. And so I'm hanging out with him and I'm hearing this stuff. And like I said before, I wasn't terribly dissatisfied with the way I was experiencing, God on a Sunday morning. And like, that was all fine for me. But I could tell that I was I knew there was like an intimacy that I wasn't experiencing with God and frankly with other people. There was just something blocking that. And so I just felt like I wanted to go for the more.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up going down that water slide.
Well, for me, what changed my approach was it started with me seeing the impact politics was having on our faith, like on our church and the people around us.
For sure.
And it started in the G.W. Bush era. And really for me started with like, wow, listening to Rush Limbaugh is really impacting my ability to love people. I really think what ultimately was kind of the burr in my saddle that caused me to change was I just wanted to love people. And Christianity told me that I couldn't authentically love people.
Now let's stop on that point. Everybody watching this, if you've ever been in an evangelical church and you're in any way like carrying out like the party line is like, no, we love people. Bullshit. We do not.
Preach.
We do not.
Get real.
We like people. We are kind to people long enough to try to get them to say our prayer and get baptized the way we want them to. That is a fact. Fact.
And I have Christians all day like, I don't condemn people. Like, if you tell people they're going to hell, that is the ultimate condemnation.
But Jesus said, go and sin no more.
That is the ultimate condemnation. I'm going to heaven, you're going to hell for eternity. There is no more condemning statement to be made. And I think that is a misunderstanding of who God is, of what the Bible is. And so it was the politics and then really the massive Christian hatred of President Obama. We felt like
that was super weird.
God demanded that we hate Obama. And again, I hear my Christian friends like, I didn't hate Obama. I just hated his politics. No. We as a group of Go ahead.
Another fact is this. Okay, now keep in mind, I was serving in local government for 8 years,
right.
Was term limited, and my 8 years directly coincided with the Obama administration. So I was like in this up to my eyeballs from a governmental perspective. Every time I heard somebody locally say like, oh, I just don't like his policies, I would stop and say, cool, which policies don't you like? Never once could somebody say, well,
abortion.
I don't like his position on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or I don't like his position on that. I'm worried about this.
His economic policy isn't working for me.
Never. It was just the talking point, and it was a way to. Now, is it possible to have legitimate policy differences with people? Of course,
we should.
It is. But at that time, I'm telling you, this is not where people were coming from. They just were being told on social media and in the pulpit that, and based on whatever, news channel they were listening to, they were just told that this guy's the devil. We got to find a way to shut him down. And let's just say, that.
Yeah. So
sorry, I'm distracted by Holy White Eagles. I'm like,
so when the politics started getting crazy and I started hearing things from Christians about chemtrails and weird shit like
Sharia
that.
law. I love this comment from Miguel. It says, I know so many people in Fresno Clovis, which is where we're from, that were convinced that Sharia law was coming to our town. Yes, I know.
Because of President Obama.
Like our babysitter thought that. Our kids' piano teacher. Like that is what. And
President Obama's bringing Sharia law.
Observed and experienced and was told this by the leaders of our own local county party, of which I was a part of at the time, was yes, Sharia law. If we let this person stay in office, he will enact Sharia law.
And remember when Christians were saying he's going to set aside the election, or he's going to, and oh, the irony, the irony that it's the Christian Messiah Donald Trump who's still trying to set aside the election of 2020. I mean, the irony of it all. But the politics really got me thinking. And then, it was being in my seminary training, my pastoral training, and seeing the things that I had been taught to be not exactly completely true. The things I had been taught as the Bible is clear, and then really learning the Bible and seeing that the Bible is not even close to being clear on many other things and that I was always told the Bible is clear about.
That was training from our own denomination,
right?
Like that was like, people are like, oh, Paul, we think you should plant a church. And we're going to put you through this training program, the seminary program. So like these were our own people, like the sort of the wise biblical counsel of the Vineyard. For anybody who knows what the Vineyard is, we were looking at planting a Vineyard Church, which is offshoot of from years ago of Calvary Chapel and whatever. Anyway, so our own insider Bible theologian people were like, hey, just so you know, the way the Bible put together is like a little bit different than maybe what you've been told.
Well, and it started with the rapture. Like I grew up in a church where we knew any second we were going to go to heaven, and all of those people that we loved were going to stay behind, and we were going to get to say, ha, 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 you guys are screwed. And I just thought that was a fact that was easily shown in the Bible and was unarguable. And then I learned it took me an adult pastoral training for somebody to say, most Christians through all of history have never believed that rubbish. It's total nonsense, and it's not really in the Bible. And it just threw me like, what? Because the rapture was the most important theology in my church growing up. You're going to be left behind. You better get saved again tonight and again tomorrow and again the next day.
Which, by the way, if you're interested in a fantastic podcast series in general, and then also specifically a podcast on where rapture theology came from, check out something called Throughline, NPR's Throughline. I forget the episode. I don't have my phone on me, but it's like, I'd say in the last 5 or 10 episodes that they've posted. And it just tells the story of this minister from the Anglican Church in like, I want to say the late 1800s. Like rapture thinking and theology is not that old. It's only been around
about 150 years old.
About 150 years old. So that means there was a time before that where like it wasn't even something people thought about or talked about. So to be here today, be like, man, this is all we're thinking about in a lot of parts of the Christian church is kind of weird.
Yeah. And side road real quick. I see Amanda Gill on here. I think I know Amanda. Amanda, you used to do sports in Fresno, right? And I think, where are you now? Like in Arizona or someplace like that. So let us know. I think that's a former Fresno sports caster.
Okay.
So yeah, rapture.
Famous person as well.
Famous. The rapture threw me, and then I think you alluded to it earlier. Hearing how the canon of the Protestant Bible was compiled. Like I thought the Bible floated down from heaven in a leather binding, and God said, "Oh no, that's not the Amanda." Well, I know another Amanda Gill in the world.
Also, I was raised in Fort Smith.
She's from Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Props to Jonesboro, because I know right where that is.
And learning that now, some people are like, "Oh, the Roman Empire totally changed that," and the Council of Nicaea. That's not a complete truth, but it's close enough. Like putting the compilation of the Protestant canon was a messy process. And there has always been argument about whether it is right or wrong. Our Catholic friends have always had a different Bible than the Protestants do. Our Eastern Orthodox friends have a different Bible than Protestants do. So if somebody says the Bible is inerrant, then I have to say, well, was the Holy Spirit wrong in the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church or the Eastern Orthodox Church? Where does the Holy Spirit have it wrong? And also, by the way, Jesus had a Bible called the Septuagint that has books in it that the Protestant Church says are not inspired by God. So was Holy Spirit wrong about the Bible that Jesus had or about the Bible that we have today? So when I learned all of that, and like there was arguments and like, no, Paul did not write all these books that we say Paul wrote. And they were like, learning all of that all of a sudden was like, man, I really have been taught as literally as gospel, something that's not even close to being clear. And so once you start pulling those threads in the sweater, that sweater starts falling apart very quickly.
So I'm really excited that like a bunch of folks are popping on and off. And because I know that, you're not going to stay here too long. I want to make sure you know that starting next week, every month for like 10 months, Paul is doing this workshop series on deconstructionism. And you can come back here 5:00 Pacific time. It's free. If you want to be on Zoom and ask questions and interact with other people, you can sign up. It's $5.99 a month, and it's at pastor-paul.com. So just in case you're here looking for resources or looking to share your story or hear from other people who are going through a similar story, I want to make sure you hear that. And then I also want to say that you can watch the stream, or you can be in the Zoom room and be a part of the discussion. And to be a part of the discussion, you need to be a part of our Pastor Paul community on the website. So get the details at pastor-paul.com. Paul.com, and check out the really cool website that Paul's been working all weekend on.
I totally revamped the website all by myself. It looks
amazing. Yeah. He uses this really cool platform, which I won't promote because they should pay
Podia.
us.
They're good people.
Okay, Podia. Anyway, it's so cool. It's so cool. Bye, Holy White Eagle.
Bye, Holy White Eagle.
Thanks for tuning in. Anyway, if you're already paying at $5.99 a month, you don't have to pay again. Yeah. It's just like you just have to be a subscriber at that level.
You get access to it.
So if you're not, you should sign up. But if you are already signed up, then you have access to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you should tell the story about when our daughter let your mom know that she didn't believe in the rapture.
So my parents were here. My dad has now passed away, but my parents were here at our house. And I don't know, we were talking about something going on in the world. And my mom said, "Oh, I'm just happy that Jesus is coming any day now to get us out of here." And our daughter, who was probably 9 at the time.
Yeah, which surprised. I didn't realize she had an opinion on this.
Very young. Age. She says to my mother, "Oh, we don't believe in that." And the look on my mother's face was like, not angry, but like, oh my gosh, my kids are going to hell. And my grandkids are going to hell.
I think she about dropped a jar of pickles.
She really did. And she looked at my dad, and my dad said, "Well, not everybody believes in that." And I told my mom at the time, Mom, to go, like, if the rapture happens, we'll go. Like, to go in the rapture, you need to believe in Jesus, not in the rapture. Yeah. You don't have to believe in the rapture to go in the rapture.
But it is as if you do, and it just had never occurred to her. I would say that, coupled with the shock and horror of both your parents when they came and visit us and saw like wine in the refrigerator.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah.
And we go to movies.
Yeah. Well, they went to movies.
They did later in life, but the movie theater growing up was like, Satan would get you. If you went to a movie, Satan would get you. He'd be on you.
I'm now realizing that a side effect of eating orange Tic Tacs is that your tongue is orange when you're talking. So I'm going to try to keep my mouth from flying open too much.
So yeah, let's see. But Jesus drank wine. Oh my gosh. That was such an argument. Like, but it was an alcoholic wine. Jesus didn't drink alcoholic wine. And so I used to say, I had a young kid who worked for me, and he was doing a report for his Christian school on, did Jesus drink alcoholic wine? And my point to him was, if Jesus didn't drink alcoholic wine, then why was there a command not to get drunk on it? Yes, Jesus drank wine.
Yeah.
And alcoholic wine. Yeah. And apparently he did a miracle to make the best wine that you could have. So Jesus liked wine a lot.
Well, I have to, so kind of like taking a step back for a minute, like it's kind of fun to sit here and think about like the ridiculous things that we thought growing up and all of that. But what is the point of going through a deconstruction process? Why not just let people, like, leave people alone and stop poking on these kinds of questions? Like you pestering kids or whatever, Scooby-Doo, you pesky kids,
meddling
kids, you and your questions, you and your intellect. Why is it so important?
I think it's important because I think the religious indoctrination of the Western Christian church is a bondage, if not the bondage, that Jesus said he came to set people free from. That's not good grammar. Religious indoctrination is the bondage from which Jesus came to set people free.
Wow.
The message of being a follower of Christ is set people free from the bondage of religion. Almost always, when Jesus said, these people will not inherit the kingdom of heaven, he was talking about religious guys. They're not going to receive the kingdom of heaven. Rich guys are not going to receive the kingdom of heaven. And that rich guys meant people who were selfishly rich, who were hoarding for themselves. And so I believe being a Christian, and I don't use that term for myself very often, but being a follower of Christ means that you try to set people free from religious indoctrination. It is the job. And so being able to say to people, I'm mocking the religion that I grew up in because I want you to feel free to start to question it, that's my jam. That's what I do. And I think it's what Jesus did. Jesus mocked religious guys. He said, you fools, you strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Like you're arguing about little bitty stupid shit and you swallow crazy nutball stuff, which is exactly what he would say to the evangelical church today.
I wonder.
And so Jesus was constantly mocking bad religion and bad theology. And I think as a follower of Christ, that's my job as well.
I wonder what the Hebrew word for shit would have been back in Jesus' days.
Well, Jesus wouldn't have spoken Hebrew. So
what did he speak?
He spoke Aramaic.
So somebody who's smart that's listening and watching knows the answer to that question.
So there is a thought, Paul wrote about all his works were like filthy rags. And there are some people who say, now he probably wrote it in Greek. I'd have to go back and think. But what he was saying, what he actually said is everything I did is a pile of shit. Like it was the equivalent
interesting. The filthy rags. Do you think maybe the people who translated the Bible into English were like, oh, we're not going to write that. We're going to say filthy rags.
They were always cleaning it up.
Offend. Yeah.
And there was a thought that when Jesus said to call your brother Raka, you're the one worthy of hellfire, that was an equivalent to asshole. Call your brother a fool. Call your brother an asshole. Call your brother a dumbass.
Tim Crow says yakara.
Yakara?
And I saw earlier he's a professor of religious studies.
Ah.
Okay, so are you saying, Tim, that is how you would say shit in Aramaic in Jesus' time? Yakara. I would like to know that. Anyway.
What do I think of Rob Bell? I think Love Wins was one of those books that I refused to read for a long time because it was so, everybody was reading it kind of thing. But then when I read it, what language is Yakara there, Tim? And then when I read Love Wins, I thought it was not something I agree with every jot and tittle of it, but is such a brilliant look at what eternity may be like that I think it's just one of the really important books of our time. And so because of that, it's called Heresy by men like Franklin Graham.
If you can't say tittle at least several times a day, you have not lived life.
Yeah, Yakara, which we're probably pronouncing wrongly, by the way, means shit in Aramaic.
Yeah, Professor Crow is answering my question.
Somebody's saying you need to watch The Chosen. We've been told that a lot, and we never have.
Why is it we need to watch it? This is the question.
I hear that it's really good, but it's like, I don't know. I've watched so many Christian shows in my life. I just almost hate to watch a Christian show anymore. Paulette, let's see. Kim says, I'm 68, haven't been to church in a while. I'm I'm list to be honest. What does
Well, I think lost.
I'm lost to be honest. Oh yeah. So that goes back to that earlier thought, that question of, is deconstructing hard? And the answer is yes, it can be very hard. It can be very lonely. It can be overturning of your identity. And it really is why I've gone into providing not only the content that I do, but the coaching services, because many of us are out here saying, well, what the hell do I do now? Everything I believed in has come tumbling down in a really shaky Jenga tower. What do I do now? And that is real. Lean into that, feel that pain. You're not alone. You're not stupid that you're feeling that. You're not a sinner that you're feeling that. You're human. And leaning into that pain and that process can be exactly the place where you're going to find God, find your space to love people. And so I just encourage you to lean into that.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I like, in my experience, kind of going through this evolution of my faith is, I like, in the middle of it all, I just knew that I was connected to this eternal love, and I just felt a little enough sense of peace to just kind of be okay. And so I share that only to say, in case that's encouraging for you, I feel like that, just know, like, the God that is pointed to in the Bible and is in no way completely captured in the Bible, right? Like, but when I think about perfect love and eternal love, there's no way that love doesn't find you wherever you are. I just know that. I know that.
And the message that I want to tell people is, Jesus came to set people free from bondage. And what that looked like is a Greek word I love called sozo. And by the way, Tim is saying Jesus almost definitely spoke Konica Greek as well. I never had heard Jesus spoke Greek. Interesting.
Kaka. Well,
interesting.
That's
Kaka
easy
is
for us
in Greek.
to...
All right, good. But he came to set people free, and he offered this process of sozo. And so the Greek word sozo, we translate in the English Bible as salvation or saved or healed. But and so we think of sozo being, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Like, sozo is punching your ticket to heaven. But sozo is actually much more akin to the Hebrew term of shalom. It is of having wholeness, of being restored as creation, body, mind, and soul, to have emotional well-being here on earth. That Jesus said he came to bring life to the full, life to the max on this dirt, not someday in eternity, but here. And so deconstruction is the first step of saying, wow, maybe I'm not a horrible sinner. Maybe original sin is bad theology. Maybe the teaching that I'm dirt and crap, that true joy is Jesus, others, you, when in fact true joy is knowing my value as a creation of the universe. And out of knowing that value flows out of me love to others. Things start to change immensely. So yes, deconstruction is scary. It's messy. It can be very lonely, but it is the journey into true fullness of life that Christianity certainly never brought me in 56 years of being deeply, deeply ensconced in it. And so I just want to encourage people to say, God is not going to be mad at you if you start asking these questions.
I was like nodding my head off just then. Carrie's comment on Facebook, deconstruction has changed my life for the better, even with the losses along the way. Oops, hold on, scroll. I will always have my faith. It's stronger than it's ever been, actually. But the chains of dishonesty, hypocrisy, and judgmentalism have been stripped away. There's so much peace now. Peace instead of fear. That's really how I'm feeling too right now. I love that. That is exactly how I feel. And I was sharing earlier that, like, it's subtle. Like in our church, for instance, we were a pretty, modern, contemporary, kind of like skinny jeans wearing type of church. And, there's
I never wore skinny jeans.
Right. Church. I'm just like giving people a visual, but like there was this idea, I think, that we had, that we didn't let our faith like separate us from people because we were just all about engaging and loving people. But the fact of the matter is, I can only speak for myself. I held on to this view that I had the right way of thinking, and therefore I was slightly better than somebody. If they weren't read in all the way on Jesus and Christianity and the way I felt that it was right, then it was like, okay, over time, I'm going to kind of like help you see that you're not exactly right and you got to go this way. And yeah, it really separated me from people. It put me, as much as we were like this judgment-free zone of a church, the fact of the matter is I felt like I was in a judgment seat.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put that on other people. I'm just telling you that's how I kind of thought about people. And I think just letting that go and being like, having all that stripped out makes you so much more available to love yourself and to love other people.
Well, and Christianity saying we are the only way, we're the only ones that know truth, cut me off from an emotional health journey that I'm now on. And we looked at Buddhists or, New Agers, everything was, growing up, it's New Age and they're coming to get us. The New Agers are coming to get us. And now I'm realizing that the Bible is a mystical book talking about the spirit of heaven living in us. Mm-hmm. So I was taught as a Christian, going inward was, careful, you're going to get demons that way.
Inward, INWARD, going inward.
As opposed to what?
Inward.
I don't have any. What are you talking about?
It sounds like you were saying like the inward, like inward.
Going inward. Inside myself, yeah. Inward. I'm totally thrown by that. Oh my goodness.
You're welcome.
Was forbidden. Demons will get you. And now I'm realizing, like the Bible says, the Spirit of God lives in me. Why would I not go inward to find that Spirit in myself and interact with that so that I can have a full life, to know myself well? And it's going inward made me realize, there are a lot of things, including religious trauma, that are hindering my ability to live a full life. And I'm going to go in there and start to work them through and process. So again, that's why I say lean into the pain of deconstruction, because it will take you inward and it'll take you inside yourself, to be able to see what's going on in there. And particularly, let me say this for men who are taught in Christianity, you have to be tough and don't be a girl and don't cry like a girl and don't throw like a girl and don't run like a girl and certainly don't have feelings like a girl. That is a soul-crushing, non-biblical, anti-Jesus belief system. Jesus wailed, the Bible tells us. He often got away so that he could have deep emotional moments of working through trauma. People always say like, you're just angry in your deconstruction. Well, yes, Jesus was angry in his deconstruction. That didn't invalidate his word, but he was true to feel his feelings. I mean, and in the church, we're so afraid of feelings. Anybody who's angry then scares us to death.
He was deconstructing the religion of his time.
He was.
Hey, so we're going to have to wrap up. Mm-hmm. I have to say, we've been going for like an hour and 20 and it's felt like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really fun just to hang out with you guys tonight. But I want to again mention, like, if you like these conversations, this is what Paul's going to be doing on Sunday evenings,
unconventional
conversations. And that the next one, July 17th.
That's next Sunday.
Rethinking spirituality. Am I still a Christian? Will God be mad if I deconstruct my beliefs? So that is at 5:00 Pacific time. And you can just join for free, the live stream. If you want to be on Zoom, ask direct questions, talk directly to other people, etc., then you've got to be a $5.99 subscriber. So if you already are, that means you have access to that. But if you're not, you could go to pastor-paul.com and you could sign up for $5.99 a month and go to all those cool workshops.
And by the way, we'll go a little bit longer after the live stream is over, to have some intimate discussions and community together. So next Sunday, and if you're part of the Pastor Paul community, subscriber there, you can be a part of the Zoom room. Otherwise, you can watch the feed. And if you can, I know times are financially tough for a lot of people, but if you're able to subscribe on the website to help keep the work we're doing going, for as little as $5.99 a month, you can help keep us moving and working and living and being able to provide as much free content as we can, hours and hours each week. And so I would really appreciate it if you can. pastor-paul.com. Go there and check it all out. And next Sunday, our first monthly unconventional conversation.
All right, you guys, have a great week. I hope that if you have hung out with us here tonight, that you're feeling encouraged, that you're feeling lighter, that you're feeling like you have access to this eternal, powerful love that is always available to you, and that you've got freedom to love yourself and to love other people, because that is what we're all about here in the Pastor Paul community. So
thank you, Dana Renee. I love it when atheists say they like my content and what I share.
Yeah.
It makes Christians really mad.
Let's keep poking the bear.
And they say, you can't be teaching right if atheists like you. And I say, oh, good. That's exactly what religious people said about Jesus. So
all right.
cool.
Well, thanks for hanging out. Be sure and share Paul's account with your friends, and we'll see you next time.